Hello, and in today's video we are doing an FPL preview for game week number 12. I know it says here game week 11 status, but it isn't ready for what's coming. It's going to be a monster game week, I'm telling you. I feel good about it because, look, before the international break, massive green arrow, love that. Despite not making any transfers, we rolled it and it worked, and it was a solid game week for us. 67 points. Very, very happy with that. We'll take it. And a big green arrow. So we went up by about, I'd say, maybe 394k or something like that, up to a very decent rank now of 641k, I think. So we need to keep this kind of momentum going. We need to keep this level of improvement going. And we've got 2 free transfers to do it. So, yeah, it's a difficult one. But we will get into it and preview this week's team and obviously make our transfers live at the time of recording. But obviously, this is, of course, now the deadline over. But it's a big game week because we've got some big games. So, let's get into it then. No messing about. It's game week 12 time. And will I bring in that man, Callum Wilson? Perhaps. You never quite know with my team. It was certainly a weird Kings of the Game week in Game Week 11, but we will take from it what we will. And here is my team. So let's just get straight into it. No messing about. As you can see there, 641, 229, 673 overall points. And it was a fantastic overall game week for me last week because Cancelo did the bits, Trent did the bits, Livramento, I saw a lot of people not have him playing. I bet they'll be regretting that. Ramsdale still doing very well as a goalkeeper. Rafinha delivers. The front three, I admit, right, is a problem. And the double up with Brentford has pooed all over me. It's pooed all over me. But this is the week where I know they lost to Norwich, but it could come in handy, the Brentford double up. I've seen a lot of people only got Tony or only got Mbuemo. And fair enough, it was frustrating v Norwich. But what if they both deliver now and you're going to be regretting it? If they don't, fair enough. At least I went with the fixtures. It was a bit like Romelu Lukaku and a bit like Ivan Toney. Fixtures may be good, but not good form. But they got to surely score soon. If not, then they're gone. Because these fixtures have been too good for them to not respond and get some points. But anyway, let's get into my preview for Game Week 12 then. So, look, first of all, I'll admit the goalkeeping situation is not the most ideal one, but we have what we have. We're not going to think about goalkeepers too much because it's not an essential position. But in an ideal world, right, I've got a good fixture for a goalkeeper and we've got a good chance of a clean sheet. But the way things have worked, I've kept patient with Ramsdale, and I just hope this man over here doesn't really frustrate me because Ramsdale's been brilliant, and I just don't think that he'll get played out of the team unless there's an injury or unless he has an absolute clanger, Aaron Ramsdale. But he's just playing such a good game right now, and obviously played in goal for England against San Marino. Decent game, obviously didn't have a lot to do, but when he was called upon, he was good. He's going up in the world, Aaron Ramsdale, and I really do respect it. After his time at Sheffield United and Bournemouth, he's really excelled in his goalkeeping skills. So, yeah, I just don't think Leno will come back in unless something drastic happens. So I think we're all right in terms of rotation right now. And also, look, the saves have been making recently from Ramsdale have been unbelievable. Some of them just so good. And yeah, okay, fair enough. The week he had an absolute blinder v Leicester, he was on my bench because Foster had the better fixture. All right, you had to back it in that match against Southampton. But look, it is what it is. Like, we haven't kept a clean sheet all season. Ramsdale's my number one. It's only when Ramsdale's either rotated for Leno or out injured that I will put the cycling GK in between the sticks. But he's a reliable goalkeeper, Ramsdale, and I know he's had quite easy fixtures, but we still hope that he can get save points in these kind of games against Liverpool. Maybe, 3 points, 2 points is all we're going to get. I kind of looked past that right now. I've kind of thought I'm not going to hope for more than that, really, but he could still get FPL points across the season, so just don't worry about changing it week in, week out. I know the fixtures aren't ideal for the Gunners. Look, they've got Liverpool, they've got Manchester United in the next 3. It's not a pretty picture, but this guy's still making saves, and I just think if you changed on him, then you would regret it. He's still one of the best goalkeeping options, and he's actually gone up in price by quite a few bits, so I've got a bit of value stored up in him. I do believe I got him when he was 4.6 million. We will just check that for you people. Yes, I did. So 4.6 million. So, you know, that is a lot of money. Not a lot of money, but 0.2 saved up on him. Might as well keep him whilst he is that price. And I'm not sure, did he start the season at 4.5? Oh, fair enough, he did. But what I'm saying is, like, I've still got the most value out of him, really, because when he was doing absolute bits and getting loads of points, all right, fair enough, he did well against Burnley, but other than that, like, it's a 3-pointer and a 6-pointer, and I got him in for that Brighton game. So what I'm saying is, I've had him. That can't be right. I got him in game week 7. Oh, I think it's because I did a wild card that game week, and I don't think original prices applying it when you play a wild card. But anyway, the point is, since game week 7, he's been up and down those first 3 games, but then since then he's been really good. So I'm happy with him. He's a good goalkeeping option. Of course, Liverpool will be tough, but then you got Newcastle to kind of provide that balance. Man United, Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Leeds, Norwich, Wolves. It's not the worst run of fixtures you will ever see, but also then he's got Man City and Spurs. So you got to think about it. But I just think you can't always look at fixtures with goalkeepers. You just got to think who's a reliable FPL option across the season and stick with it. So we will concede a few goals here for Ramsdale, methinks, with someone like Salah. Certainly is a good captain option this week. Trent as well from set pieces, but yeah, we're just going to forget about that. We know he's a good option. Hopefully those save points do come into the bag. But yeah, a bit frustrating last week. As always with Ramsdale, it's like whenever he's doing well, it's the week that I decide to not play him, and whenever it's the vice versa of that, he's on my bench. So look, it was a game you would always start him against Watford, and he did get 7 points, but because of the save from the penalty from Aubameyang, Foster got even more at 11. So yeah, that's just a irregularity, but Ramsdale was so good. And I think, despite you'd say Liverpool away is a tougher fixture than Man United at home for Foster, I still think Ramsdale is he's in a better defence, he's in a better team, and you know, if Watford have not got up to clean sheet all season, I don't see us doing it against, you know, the likes of Ronaldo and Bruno. And you know, at least we know in Liverpool they're loving a shot, so that gives Ramsdale chances, even if he does concede a few, to get those save points. And you know, he picked up a bonus point against Watford where I didn't really think he would. So it just shows bonus points don't always have to come when you get loads of save points. So let's see if FPL bonus point system is kind to us. But anyway, let's move on to our defence. Now we've got a back 4, and this is where we need some changing, really. Mainly it's not too much change needed because it's a very solid back 4. Trent, must keep him all season. He's so good. And people that said at the start of the season he's not essential, they're really licking their wounds now. Cancelo, he just looked brilliant against Man United, and that attacking potential is unbelievable. Like, his shots attempts is up there with Salah. Like, he's just so good from an attacking point of view, but also Man City are a very strong defence to rely upon. And then we've got Azpilicueta there. Now, I could easily see Azpilicueta punishing me, right? Because he hasn't played the last few games. You think surely he's due a play, and you know, he does got attacking potential. Like, he can play at right centre back, but Reece James has just been playing so well that it's like, where do you fit in Azpilicueta in that team? I'm not sure about Christensen and Chalobah, whether they're ones to start, but I just think Azpilicueta's lost his place in this team. So he could easily get points. Like, I could see him playing this week and then doing really well, or you run the risk of him not playing, and then you think, oh, that was a bit of a waste of, you know, keeping him when he's not got much longevity in this Chelsea defence. You want a Chelsea defender because they're probably the strongest defence, I think, in the league. I know that they didn't keep a clean sheet last week v Burnley, but Edouard Mendy is just so solid usually, and Man City as well. I just think though that Leicester away is an interesting one because you look at the fixtures for Man City, they are pretty consistent the next few weeks, whereas for Chelsea, it's getting a bit dodgy. And you look at some other defensive fixtures like Brighton, where you say, all right, that's not too bad. Like Villa, yeah, okay, I'll take that. Leeds, decent. But is it worth just going with the big guns, going with the teams that are the strongest defences regardless of fixtures? Like, obviously they've got Man United, but then after that they've got Watford, so that's defensively a good fixture, and Chelsea are just so reliable. So there's a bit of a headache in terms of this Leicester game, because which Leicester will turn up? The team that beat 4 past Man United, or the team that were awful against Arsenal? We just don't quite know. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see this one. But Azpilicueta is a bit of a problem in my team right now. Livramento, look, it's easy to say, oh yeah, he's my bench player. He always bench warms. But we had him come in for the game against Villa. Very, very happy about that, because I saw a lot of people regret benching him. Just get so many clean sheets for the teams you'd expect, and can get more attacking returns. But he is the Lundstrom, the Stuart Dallas of this season. So we're going to be generous with him. We're going to play him for the matches we think he'll do well. And I just think Norwich are so leaky. Like, fair enough, they have got a new manager, and fair enough, they won last week. But if there's a good chance of a clean sheet in any match this season, then it's Norwich and Livramento. Like, he's got attacking threat. So let's just hope that down that left hand side, someone like, I don't even know who it is. Is it Giannoulis or something on the left? Or Brandon Williams, maybe, if he even gets a game these days. I don't think he does. Or Mabamidele. I don't even know for Norwich. That's how little I've watched their games this season. But whoever's playing left back, whoever's playing on the left, will have a lot to deal with on that right back spot for defending against Livramento. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see it for sure. And look, you got to play him. I know that it's hard to fit him in because you've got so many other premium options, and a lot of people mentioning him this week. But I just think get the best out of him in that really good fixture. Now, midfield. This is an interesting one because it's not the strongest other than Salah, right? Because you've got Brian Mbeumo, who's not doing well, and it's just been such a bad buy. Like, ever since I brought him in, he came in, right, for the fixtures. And I knew that he was hitting the post every week, and you were like, oh, well, he's not clinical, fair enough, right? I just wish that I'd have had him Game Week 5 onwards, because that's basically all he's done. But the point is, right, I brought him in for Burnley, okay? You say, why would you do that? He didn't play. But, of course, we didn't know that at the time. He was coming back from an injury. But it was about long-term, right? We knew the fixtures for Brentford were long-term good after that. And they still are good. That's what we've got to remember. Like, I know they've been awful. They've been frustrating in these easy matches. But they're still good. Burnley, Norwich, okay, bit disappointing. Everton, you'd say that's not a bad fixture, but it's not ideal. Newcastle is the one I think we're looking at. Alright, Spurs, a bit of a problem. But then Leeds, and then Watford, and then Southampton and Brighton. So it's good for a while for Brentford, but their form for the last kind of 4 or 5 games has not been good. So that is a bit of a problem. I am worried about Mbeumo. Is it worth him getting out this week because he's taken up one of my midfield spots when I could get Gallagher? I know that I've only just sold Gallagher. Like, it was just such bad timing that I bring in Brian Mbeumo for Gallagher, and Gallagher does the bits against Man City when we wouldn't expect it, and Mbeumo does nothing against Burnley. It was a nightmare. It really was. And Gallagher's been punished me since then, and Mbeumo's done nothing. But you'd argue against Newcastle, good chance of scoring. Surely sometime this luck has got to change for Mbeumo. And I think with Gallagher, like, I know he's been good, but how long is he going to keep it up? Like, maybe it's just me very against him because he's annoyed my team, but I just think, like, it's a sideways move. If I can delay it for one more week, maybe I will. And I can't do it in one move because I've got nothing in the bank, and Mbeumo is now 0.3 below what Gallagher is, because Gallagher's just been good form in the last couple of games. So yeah, not ideal, but let's see if he can do something against the Toon Army. Bernardo Silva, this is the one, like, I have to start him this week. Number one, because, like, he's a differential, and I feel like this season's so frustrating because there's not been enough differentials, and I want some of them, right? Number two, because it's Man City and they're so good. Number three, because Everton defensively are still, I think, suspect. I know they got a clean sheet with Spurs, but I think that was a one-off blip. And I think Everton will get destroyed like we saw in our final day of last season. Man City can really get into them and rip them to shreds a little bit. But number three, if I've counted that right, whatever number it is, the next option is, like, Bernardo Silva. He's attacking. Like, he is getting in a more attacking positions than previous seasons, and I just think it's one to be patient with. Like, obviously last week, right, he didn't do the bits, and we got him in for Palace, okay? It was in hindsight a good decision because they just had really good form, and Man City, obviously, they had a game you'd fancy against Palace, but he gets an assist against Brighton, gets a goal against Burnley. You're thinking, oh, this guy is nailed on and cheap and playing well and scoring. And then he does nothing v Palace and gets a booking. So it was a nightmare. And he's got bookings the last 2 games now. So I'm not liking that from Bernardo. Just leave it out, mate. Like, don't do another couple of those, because that would be a shame. But of course, the week that I do bench him, in a tricky fixture v Man United, I know it's Man United and people will say, oh, it's never a tricky fixture because they're in awful form. I know, right? But that's not a bad fixture, hence why I play Cancelo. But Bernardo Silva wasn't doing enough in game, and I had other players that were stronger that week to play. So it's unlucky, but it's the way it goes, right? So 8 points, we'll move on. But that's a nice little confirmation in my mind that Bernardo Silva is a good FPL asset. So now I've got the kind of faith to start him in matches, and hopefully he can carry on that run. Everton defensively have been a bit up and down, so I think hopefully Bernardo Silva's that juicy Portuguese differential, and Everton, they've got a lot of Portuguese players in the past, and I don't know, I'm kind of going off a tangent here, but still, good player I think, very, very low owned. I think it's like 2.3 or something. Oh no, even more than that. 7.1, but still very decent. And 7.1 million as well is what he costs. Salah, there's not much more to say. Like, I know Salah, like, it's boring. It's perma-captain. I hate it. I do. But imagine if you don't captain him. And I don't need to imagine, because I had it in Game Week 9, where he just ran right at Man United, and I literally was so hurt by that, and I had to make a big comeback to suffer to repair that damage basically, and we're back up to a respectable rank now for the last 2 weeks, but it's not been good at all, for sure. Even in the tough times, Salah is the guy that pulls you through it, and Arsenal, yeah, right, they're defensively quite good. I know I've got Ramsdale, but Salah's got a great individual record for Arsenal. Arsenal will probably struggle. They usually do at Anfield, and Salah's on pens. Just don't overthink it. But there's options. There's options this week. I'll admit there's captain options, especially in the forward lines. A lot of people bringing in a little bit of CR7 for that Watford game. I am worried he's going to tear us to shreds because it's Ronaldo. It's the best player on the planet, in the world. He's just amazing, and he is just he's gonna cause Cathcart problems. I know it now. But anyway, the point is, this is a game that Salah could still do well in. Like, Arsenal have been embarrassed in the past, but not this season. Under Ramsdale in goal, but under Leno they got battered by Man City, so we shall see. Now, the front three is a front three I'm not happy with, right? Because they're blanking week after week. Antonio, I'm the only one to say I'll keep the exception, right? Because although he's not getting involved too much, he's still such a good FPL asset because he is the best at his price. He has got wishy-washy fixtures, but you just kind of set and forget with Antonio. You hold him through the fixtures, he comes good, and he's just been so good this season. Now, the last few games, like, it's unfortunate, right? Of course, you see 7 goals scored for West Ham, and he's not involved in any of them. But it is what it is, right? Because now he's had that kind of 2-week break, which is ideal, because now he's going to get a Hatfield v Wolves, right? Because look at this little pattern here, right? He likes to have a couple of games in between some scoring runs. They're 2 games, double blank, mate. I know he didn't play, but it's just because he knew he wanted to miss those 2 games and not get goals. Anyway, then he scores. That's what he does. 2 blanks. Then he scores, and it's 2 blanks. So it's time to destroy Wolverhampton. I don't know. But I think this is time for a McHale, and just don't overthink it, right? Tony and Kane are the ones I'm fuming with, right? First of all, Tony, because you just choosing to score points when I don't have you. Like, oh my gosh, it couldn't be worse. Have him first game week, doesn't do anything. Have him second game week, doesn't do anything. Sell him game week 3, does a goal. His first of the season, his first ever in the Prem. Brighton, right? I don't own him. Alright, fair enough, he blanks, but he gets the same as most of my front line in game week 4. I'm just looking back actually. I can't remember what my front line was in game week 4, if it didn't any better. Yeah. So Antonio got less and Dennis got less than Tony. So that just shows, like, he's clearly out to get me right now, Ivan. He's just frustrating so much, right? And then you think, okay, fair enough. he does well against Wolves, but that's of course when I'm still not owning him. And at this point, I'm like, Liverpool, really? He gets an assist there? Who'd have thought it? West Ham, right? Game week 7, we went for the wild card in game week 7. We thought, surely there's got to be some good forwards out there. So we didn't really think like that Tony would suddenly blank when we bring him in, but he does. Of course, he does. So look, you're just gonna say like it's a very unfortunate relationship, right? I've got with our FPL asset Ivan Toney, because he's not helped me, right? But Newcastle, if there's any game that you can resurrect your FPL form, is it Newcastle? Perhaps. We thought that for Norwich, but then that kind of just went down the pan. So I don't really advise benching Toney. I thought about it, but I just think he's always got a chance, even if he's not producing chances after chance. He's in there, he's in the box. He will pop up eventually. But the last couple of games, man, just such a waste. So I think he will add to his 2 Premier League goals. I think he could score this week, and people will regret selling him for sure. But we do need to see something, because I'm really frustrated with him and Mbeumo to an extent. But I think that at least Mbeumo is having chances, and he's getting goals disallowed by VAR, or he's hitting the post. Whereas Toney, it's just there's nothing to go off basically. So Kane, very frustrating as well, because look, we got ahead of the crowd, right? And it's still differential, 9.6%. I think that'll go up before Saturday, because there's a bit of a hype around Harry Kane after his easy matches in the international break. And there's a bit of hype about Callum Wilson as well. But I just think Toney, I'd hope that Toney could get more than Wilson in that match. But Harry Kane, right? Yeah, he's not been the same player, blah-de-blah-de-blah. But, right, we got him in for West Ham because his fixtures weren't too bad, and he loves playing West Ham. Okay, yeah, 2 points is all I've got from him so far, but this is the run that is beautiful. Leeds, Burnley, Brentford, Norwich. It's beautiful, so we've got to take that into consideration. I have thought about the captaincy for Kane. I know you're going to say, what? But he's got no form. And most of the time you'd say back form over fixtures for a captaincy. But it's very tempting, because Leeds are just so leaky, and Kane, like, he's back in confidence. He's back in scoring goals, even if it is against, the absolute whipping boys of San Marino and Albania. But, at this point, Leeds defensively, are they that good this season? No, they're not. They got injuries to Ayling. Melié's can't keeping a clean sheet. So I just think, why not? Like, it's got to be done, surely. But I'll probably still go Salah. So the rebel in me wants to go Kane. I even thought about a little bit of Cancelo, I should say, because Cancelo is just so attacking, or even Trent. Like, I could do any of my defenders. People captaining Livramento, good luck. But anyway, the point is, I think we're going to go Salah. It's just I'm very tempted by Kane. If I had Ronaldo, would I captain him against my own team? Well, the chance of him scoring big points is probably quite high, but I can't do that against Watford. I can't do that to my team. But anyway, that is my lineup. The bench, Foster, as we mentioned before, is just, I think we've got to play Ramsdale most weeks. Whatever the result, Ramsdale's going to be a little better long term. Rafinha, yeah, right, he could do something with Spurs, but you'd say it's more likely he won't. I know that Spurs defence, you still can't quite trust it right now, but despite the fact he's got 2 in a row, Rafinha's, I don't know, I'm not sure about his ability to score in tougher games. I know he's done it at times in the past, but he does prefer matches against smaller sides. Rudiger, yeah, okay, fair enough. Like, Rafinha scored against Spurs last season at Ellen Road, but this is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Rudiger, yeah, right, he scored 2 headers, I think, in a game against Leicester a few seasons back. But what is my thinking behind this? Well, I think Kane will score bits, and I think Spurs will run riot. So, although I could see Leeds scoring and no Tottenham clean sheet, I just don't think Rafinha will be involved, because, he can't do it all on his own. Like, there's a point where he has to have a rest 1 week. And Rudiger, I think Livramento's got to start for me. So, if I have 1 Chelsea defender v Leicester, that could be better than 2, because Leicester could easily score in that game. Jamie Vardy, I know Tielemans is out, but they've still got Maddison, and they've still got Daka, and they've still got some decent players in there. And Douglas Luiz is still out injured. Like, what's he doing? 4.5. I don't need a 4.5 to play, but it's just like, it's a shame. But anyway, that is my team. So let's lock in some transfers now, because it's getting to that point where I just want to do it. So, Azpilicueta, he's got to go realistically, right? But who are we getting? JJ? It's Reece James. Yes, I know you're going to say sideways transfer, but I don't think so, because James is the better option. It's as simple as that, right? So, let's think of some options. Some options to consider for game week 12, right? Gallagher, that man I sold in game week 10, he's come back to bite me. And could we do a bit of a reversal here? Could we even think about getting him back in? Well, that's all very well in theory, right? But I love the Reece James transfer. I think Azpilicueta's out of the team. James is going to start every week. I just think, why wouldn't you do it? It's the same price, no money involved, lovely, right? But we got 2 free transfers. So it kind of leaves us in a perilous situation. And I think FPL Negan said this. Yeah, he did. About 2 free transfers, right? He went into the international break happy with the 2 free transfers. But now you feel as paralysed, like, what do I actually do with this? Like, it's all very well having 2 free transfers, but then there's no plan. There's no, like, easy moves, right? Foster stays, Ramsdale stays, James, I'm getting in. Rudiger, yeah, alright, Rudiger maybe could go, because I don't necessarily need... Look at the fixture run for Chelsea, like, it's not great. It's not great. Watford, yeah, right, Leeds, yeah, fair enough. You can make an argument to keep 2 Chelsea defenders, and then they've got Liverpool, Man City and Spurs, so... But then the run there is definitely unbelievable. But no, what I'm going to say is, I think Rudiger is a difficult one, because the way my team's set up, I'm very tempted to bench him. So that means I could miss out on big points if Chelsea get a clean sheet. I could miss out on 6 points there. So is it just better to just get an awful defender, but good one for going forward, just an awful one for this week, then bench him, and then play him next week? But then you'd argue, why would you bench a player you just brought in? It just seems a bit weird. So, I don't know, it's a difficult one. But it does mean I could free up funds, and then I have more options going into game week number 13 if I downgrade Rudiger. It's just a tough one. So he's one thinking about. Mbeumo, I just don't know how I'm going to even do that, because if I wanted to sell Mbeumo, then I'd have to sell Rudiger, because I don't have the money to upgrade Mbeumo. There's no one under 5.6 who is a good FPL asset. And then I kind of thought about Rafinha, but then I think I'd have to do that in a few moves, because let's say we went down to like Smith Rowe. Do I really want to get that and do that ahead of Liverpool? Like, I could easily bench Smith Rowe v Liverpool. Like, that's not a bad shout, but I just think Smith Rowe, is it worth it? The fixtures I mentioned with Arsenal, they're not amazing. I don't know. And also Ivan Toney, I just don't think I can sell him with Newcastle ahead of the right. Like, there's not many better forwards. Like, I could think about Adam Armstrong. The fixtures, alright, yeah, Norwich this week, but then Liverpool, and then there's always that Southampton problem of, like, they've got 3 or 4 forwards, so you don't know what's going to play. But Armstrong is quite good at the minute, and he's doing well, but I just think, like, he's playing Newcastle, alright, fair enough, he's playing Norwich, but then after that, Everton, and then Armstrong played Liverpool, so I just think there's not a lot that I can do this week, so it's really annoying. I want to make use of my 2 free transfers, attack it, be aggressive, and, you know, I saved these transfers for a reason, because I wanted to not have to take hits. But it feels like whatever I do, I'm going to take a hit, because, no, not a hit really in FPL terms, but I mean a metaphorical one. I'm going to take a hit in terms of, like, I'm not going to do very well in FPL this week, because, like, you know, I have to just accept that my team, it seems quite set. It seems quite set in terms of I'm not going to change many players. Like Livramento, he stays. He's literally the Lundstrom of this season. Cancelo doesn't go anywhere. Trent doesn't go anywhere. You want to have at least one Chelsea defender, ideally James, but Rudiger's the most nailed, so it makes sense. Mbeumo, like, who am I going to move to? With no money in the bank, it's like, it's an impossible task. Rafinha's so good value. I still think it's 6.5. He was, I think, the only one at the start of the season when the prices came out, the price reveals, Rafinha was the guy who was like, yeah, he's right in my team, because 6.5 for a talisman at a team that score goals. I know Leeds have been not as good this season, but he's still carried them with goals, and like 5 goals this season is impressive for a midfielder that is playing for a team down there. So yeah, I just think, is it a waste to sell Rafinha? I just don't know, Jeff. And the benching dilemma of Rudiger and Livramento is an interesting one. Like, Rafinha benching, is that a mistake? While Spurs away, you never quite know what to make of Tottenham. But then after that, like, Brighton is an interesting one. Like, they're not a bad defence. Palace, Brentford, and then the fixtures go bad. So I could easily move on Rafinha like, in game week 15. That looks like what I'll probably do, because the run of fixtures after that is disgusting. But that means I keep Rafinha, because it would be a waste to not use those good fixtures. So then I'm thinking, like, I've got to sell, realistically, one of Rudiger or Mbeumo. And if I'm selling Rudiger, then who am I putting in there? Like, there's no good cheap defenders, basically. So it is a sticky one. And I love to sell, like, one of my midfielders to get in, like, a Smith Rowe or a Bernardo Silva. Sorry, not Bernardo Silva, Gallagher. But then I'm just like, I'm going back on what I didn't do in previous game weeks. Maybe I have to just take the L and do Bernardo to Gallagher. But these were my plans, basically. Gallagher, Smith Rowe, Rafinha's very good. Tony, Armstrong, I guess, maybe Tony to Armstrong, but it's quite sideways, and Armstrong is alright, but Pookie, I can't go to the depths of Pookie. Like, that just seems a little bit dodgy. So yeah, I'm really struggling right now. I don't know what transfers to make. It's a tough one. And I just don't want to sell Bernardo Silva because he's such a nice little differential, and the fixtures still look very good. Now, I have got a plan about Ronaldo, and part of that plan going forward might be to sell Bernardo Silva around about game week 13. So I guess you'd say make the most of him now against the Leaky Everton. But then does that mean we roll the transfer? Like, it just looks quite boring, doesn't it? If we have 2 free transfers, only make one of them, and then roll the next one, and it's like, that's not going to solve my problem going into game 13. I'm still going to be not sure what transfer to make with no money in the bank. So, look, we're going to lock in Reece James. I think we knew we were going to make that transfer. It's just a very logical one. So it has been confirmed. There he is. Reece Boy James. I'm not going to go without you, mate. He's just so good. Rudiger, benched over Livramento, makes sense, I think. I honestly do. Livramento is just so good against Norwich, but Leicester could easily score it. We don't have James for the clean sheets, though, I think, this week. We have him for the attacking threat. So that is a saucy little back three. I love that. But what we do with that second free transfer, I just do not know at all. So I might just leave it like that. Not going to lie, people. I know it's boring, but it could be effective, right? So looking at our rank, we've got to climb some big tallies. Like, we've got to get like at least a 50 point swing this week. I don't know. I just think like there's a lot of progress that needs to be done, but let's not worry too much. Let's not take a hit. Let's not get too over panicked. Eventually I'll get it done and I'll close the gap, but this week might just be a week where I let things kind of play out in their natural way. So you never know. Like, last minute I might change to Kane. Who knows? But it probably will be Mo Salah on the captaincy. So thanks for watching this FPL preview for game week number 12. Hope you have enjoyed. It's a decent length one, but as I mentioned, as always, it's what we want to see. It's the content we want to see, and it's the in-depth preview for the game week. What transfers are you making? What are your benching dilemmas? I know I've got plenty, but you know, I think these benching dilemmas make sense. Like, if they don't work out, Rafinha and Rudiger does bits, then you say, fair enough, the decision was the right one, the outcome was unfortunate. But that's just how FPL works. Sometimes you win some, you lose some. I'll see you next time on FPL Yellow Army. You've been legendary, and do give the video a smash and a like, and I shall see you next time for a review of that Game Week 12. Bye-bye!